Have you ever walked through a neighborhood garden, stopped in your tracks by a magnificent, fragrant rose bush, and wished you could instantly replicate its beauty in your own backyard? Most gardeners don't know this, but you do not need to spend a single dime on expensive nursery plants or rely on harsh synthetic chemical rooting powders to create a stunning, year-round blooming rose garden. In fact, many commercial rooting hormones contain synthetic chemical compounds like indole-3 butyric acid, which, if misapplied, can easily burn the delicate cambium tissue of a young cutting. This often leads to a blackened, rotting stem before any roots even have a chance to spark. The real secret to successful propagation lies in understanding the natural biological mechanisms already hardwired into the plant itself, and using gentle, organic catalysts that you can find right in your kitchen cupboard or garden bed. Every single rose stem in your garden is already packed with dormant potential. Inside the cellular structure of a healthy rose cutting are natural growth hormones known as auxins and gibberellins. Auxins are the master regulators of root development. They migrate downward toward the cut end of a stem, signaling the plant's cells to stop growing leaves and start differentiating into root tissues. Gibberellins, on the other hand, stimulate cell elongation and division, helping those newly formed roots push through the stem and anchor into the growing medium. However, unlocking this dormant genetic potential requires a bit of science and a keen eye for detail. This is the step many people skip, and it is the primary reason why so many rose cuttings fail to root. You cannot simply snip off any random branch and expect it to grow. If you choose a stem that is too young, green, and succulent, it will lack the stored carbohydrates needed to sustain itself during the rooting process, causing it to collapse and rot within days. Conversely, if you choose an old, woody stem that has already turned gray and bark-like, the cell walls will be too rigid and lignified, making it incredibly difficult for new roots to break through. Here is where the real secret begins. You must look for what horticulturists call a semi-hardwood stem. The perfect cutting comes from a branch that has recently finished blooming. This indicates that the stem has accumulated a high concentration of sugars and starches. To test this, try to bend the stem gently. If it snaps cleanly with a slight crunch, it is perfect. If it bends like rubber without snapping, it is too young. If it is stiff as a pencil and refuses to budge, it is too old. Look for a stem that is about the thickness of a standard pencil, with a healthy, vibrant green color, free from any signs of powdery mildew, black spot, or pest damage. Once you have identified the ideal branch, look closely at the leaf nodes. Nodes are the swollen joints along the stem where leaves, thorns, and buds emerge. These nodes are hotbeds of cellular activity containing a high density of meristematic cells, the plant equivalent of stem cells, which can easily transform into root tissue under the right conditions. You want to select a section of the stem that is about 15 to 20 centimeters long, containing at least 2 to 3 clearly visible nodes. Now let's talk about the physics of the cut itself. When you make your cut, always use a pair of bypass pruners that have been thoroughly sterilized with rubbing alcohol. Dull or dirty shears will crush the vascular bundles of the stem, creating a jagged wound that invites pathogenic bacteria and fungi to feast on the plant's sugars. At the base of the cutting, make a clean, swift cut at a sharp 45-degree angle, directly below the lowest node. This 45-degree angle is crucial because it dramatically increases the surface area of the exposed cambium layer, the green ring of living tissue just beneath the bark. A larger surface area allows the cutting to absorb more moisture and natural hormones from its surroundings, while preventing the stem from sitting flat against the bottom of your container, which would otherwise suffocate the emerging root initials. Once your base is cut, remove all the thorns and leaves from the lower two-thirds of the cutting. This reduces the surface area available for transpiration, the process by which plants lose water through their leaves. Since your cutting currently has no roots to absorb water, leaving too many leaves on the stem will quickly dehydrate it, causing it to wither. Keep only 1 or 2 small leaves at the very top of the cutting. These remaining leaves will continue to perform a minimal amount of photosynthesis, producing a steady supply of natural sugars and auxins to fuel root initiation without putting a heavy demand on the stem's limited water reserves. To prepare this cutting for its journey, we introduce our first organic powerhouse, fresh aloe vera. Aloe vera gel is not just a soothing balm for human skin, it is an incredible multifunctional tool for plant propagation. The thick mucilaginous gel inside an aloe leaf is packed with water, vitamins, minerals, and active enzymes that protect and nourish the cut tissue. More importantly, aloe contains salicylic acid, a natural plant compound that acts as an internal defense trigger, boosting the cutting's systemic acquired resistance against rot-causing pathogens. Dip the freshly cut base of your rose stem directly into a freshly harvested piece of aloe vera gel, allowing it to sit undisturbed for about 20 to 30 minutes. This allows the cutting to absorb the beneficial enzymes while forming a protective, hydrating barrier over the open wound. While your rose cutting is soaking in the protective bath of aloe vera, it is time to prepare the ultimate foundation for its future root system, the soil medium. Most amateur gardeners make the mistake of using standard, heavy garden soil or cheap potting mixes for their cuttings. This is a recipe for disaster. Heavy soils compact easily, trapping stagnant water around the base of the stem while cutting off the supply of vital oxygen. Without oxygen, the newly forming root cells cannot perform cellular respiration, leading to rapid decay. To prevent this, master gardeners rely on a specific, highly aerated, and well-draining soil recipe. You will want to mix 2 parts of rich, fully decomposed humus soil, 1 part of organic coconut coir, 1 part of charred rice hulls or perlite, and 1 part of clean, coarse river sand. This specific combination achieves a perfect balance of moisture retention and structural porosity. Humus soil provides a gentle, slow-release source of organic nutrients and beneficial microbes. Coconut coir acts as a sponge, holding on to just enough moisture to keep the environment humid without becoming waterlogged. Charred rice hulls and coarse sand create microscopic air pockets throughout the medium, ensuring that the emerging roots have constant access to oxygen while allowing excess water to drain away instantly. Once your medium is thoroughly mixed, select a recycled plastic cup or a small nursery pot. It is absolutely vital that your container has several large drainage holes at the bottom. If water pools at the base of the cup, anaerobic bacteria will quickly take over, turning your propagation project into a mushy, black mess. Fill the cup to the brim with your custom soil mix and tap it gently on your workspace to settle the medium without compacting it too tightly. Here is the step many people skip, and it often costs them their entire batch. Never push your rose cutting directly into the dry soil. Doing so acts like sandpaper, scraping off the delicate layer of aloe vera gel you just applied and damaging the fragile cambium cells at the base of the stem. Instead, take a clean chopstick, a pencil, or a small wooden dowel and poke a pilot hole directly down the center of your soil medium. This hole should be just deep and wide enough to accommodate the cutting without any friction. Before we insert the cutting, we are going to introduce a secret weapon from the spice rack: organic cinnamon powder. Most gardeners don't know this, but cinnamon is one of nature's most effective natural fungicides. It contains cinnamaldehyde, a compound that actively inhibits the germination of fungal spores and prevents pathogens like Pythium and Phytophthora, the culprits behind damping off disease, from attacking the vulnerable cut end of your stem. Gently remove your cutting from the aloe vera gel, allowing any excess to drip off, and let it air dry naturally for just a couple of minutes to form a tacky film. Then dip the bottom 45-degree cut into a shallow dish of cinnamon powder, coating the wound in a thin, protective layer of brown spice. Slide the coated cutting gently into the pilot hole you created in the soil, ensuring that at least 1 leaf node is fully buried beneath the surface. Press the soil around the stem gently with your fingertips to eliminate any air pockets and secure the cutting in place. To double down on protection, sprinkle a tiny pinch of cinnamon powder over the exposed top cut of the stem. This seals the upper wound, preventing moisture from evaporating out of the top of the cutting while blocking airborne fungal spores from entering. Now, how do we keep this cutting hydrated while it has no roots? We must create a stable, high-humidity microclimate. Take a clear, transparent plastic cup, poke a few tiny ventilation holes in the bottom using a hot needle, and invert it directly over your planted cutting, pressing it slightly into the soil. This simple, cost-free setup acts as a miniature greenhouse. It traps the moisture evaporating from the soil and leaves, creating a self-sustaining cycle of condensation and precipitation. Place your newly potted cutting in a warm, bright location that receives plenty of indirect, filtered light. A windowsill facing north or east is ideal, or beneath the dappled shade of a larger houseplant. What happened next surprised me during my early years of gardening. If you place the cutting in direct, harsh sunlight, the temperature inside the plastic dome will skyrocket within minutes, literally cooking the delicate tissues of your stem. Keep the soil consistently moist, but never soggy. In about 7 to 14 days, you will notice a beautiful sight: tiny, glistening water droplets condensing on the inside of the clear cup. This is a clear sign that your microclimate is perfectly balanced, maintaining the high humidity your rose needs to survive and thrive. While the soil method is a time-tested classic, there is another highly effective alternative propagation technique that master horticulturists use when dealing with rare, delicate, or stubborn rose varieties. This is the moss and ginger honey infusion method. This technique relies on a completely different set of biological triggers and a highly sterile, moisture-retaining medium to coax even the most stubborn cuttings into producing a vigorous root system. Let's look at the science behind this unique organic combination. Ginger is not just a flavorful root for cooking, it is a potent botanical stimulant. It contains active compounds like gingerols, shogalls, and zingerone, which possess strong antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, and antimicrobial properties. When applied to a plant cutting, ginger acts as a natural systemic tonic, stimulating cellular metabolism and encouraging rapid cell division at the node sites. Honey, on the other hand, is a legendary natural rooting agent. Raw, unpasteurized honey is packed with natural sugars, trace minerals, and beneficial enzymes like glucose oxidase, which naturally produces low levels of hydrogen peroxide. This hydrogen peroxide acts as a mild, continuous disinfectant, keeping the cutting free from harmful bacteria, while the natural sugars provide an immediate energy source for the emerging roots. To prepare this golden rooting elixir, take a small, fresh thumb of ginger root and chop it finely. Place the chopped ginger into a blender with about 300 milliliters of filtered room temperature water. Blend the mixture on high speed until it forms a smooth, milky liquid. Strain this mixture through a fine mesh sieve or a piece of cheesecloth into a clean glass jar, discarding the fibrous pulp. To this nutrient-rich ginger juice, add 1 teaspoon of raw, organic honey. Stir the liquid thoroughly until the honey is completely dissolved and integrated. Now take your prepared rose cutting, select it and cut at a 45-degree angle as described earlier, and submerge the bottom 5 centimeters of the stem into this ginger honey solution. Let it soak undisturbed for about 20 minutes. During this time, the vascular system of the cutting will draw up the moisture, sugars, and active compounds, priming the internal nodes for rapid root development. While your cutting is enjoying its nutrient bath, we prepare our propagation medium, high-quality long-fiber sphagnum moss. Sphagnum moss is an incredible material for propagation because of its unique cellular structure. It contains large, hollow hyaline cells that can hold up to 20 times their dry weight in water, while still leaving ample air passages open for oxygen circulation. This means your cutting will have access to constant, uniform moisture without ever being subjected to the stagnant, suffocating conditions that lead to root rot. Take a generous handful of dry sphagnum moss and submerge it directly into the remaining ginger honey solution. Let it soak for about 5 minutes, allowing the moss to fully hydrate and absorb the beneficial compounds of the ginger and honey. Now here is the crucial step that many people skip. You must squeeze the moss thoroughly before using it. Take the wet moss in your hands and squeeze it as hard as you can until no more water drips out. The moss should feel damp and springy, like a well-wrung sponge, but not dripping wet. If the moss is too wet, it will suffocate the stem, leading to rapid blackening and decay. Pack this damp, nutrient-infused moss lightly into a small, clear plastic cup that has drainage holes at the bottom. The transparency of the cup is a key secret here. It allows you to monitor root growth without disturbing the delicate medium. Use a clean stick or your finger to make a small channel in the center of the moss. Gently insert your soaked rose cutting into the channel, pressing the moss snugly around the stem to ensure there are no large air gaps. Just as before, apply a thin dusting of cinnamon powder to the top cut of the stem to seal it against pathogens, and cover the cup with an inverted, ventilated clear plastic dome to lock in the humidity. The results became visible just days later when using this method. Because the sphagnum moss is highly sterile and infused with the protective, stimulating properties of ginger and honey, the stem of your rose cutting will remain a bright, healthy grass green color. Within 2 to 3 weeks, you will notice the dormant buds at the upper nodes beginning to swell, turning a beautiful, promising shade of light, pink and green, as they prepare to burst into new life. For those who love to witness the wonders of nature unfold in real time, there is a third incredibly fascinating propagation method that allows you to watch the entire root development process without any soil or moss blocking your view. This is the hydro sponge method, utilizing a powerful organic cocktail of garlic, lemon, and aloe vera. This method is perfect for educational projects or for gardeners who want absolute visual confirmation of their success before transplanting their new rose plants into the garden. Let's break down why this specific combination of garlic and lemon works so brilliantly. Garlic is rich in allicin, an organosulfur compound that is one of nature's most potent, broad-spectrum antimicrobial agents. Allicin works by disrupting the lipid membranes of harmful bacteria and fungi, effectively sterilizing the water and preventing the formation of slimy biofilms that can suffocate a submerged cutting. Lemon juice, on the other hand, introduces mild citric acid to the solution. This slightly lowers the pH of the water, mimicking the acidic conditions that roses naturally prefer. This mild acidity helps keep the water clean, prevents mineral buildup, and activates key biochemical pathways within the stem, helping the plant tissues retain cellular turgor pressure and absorb water more efficiently. To prepare this clean, active, liquid medium, finely chop 3 cloves of fresh garlic and place them into a clean glass jar. Add 1 tablespoon of fresh, organic lemon juice. Pour in about 300 milliliters of room temperature, filtered water, and stir the mixture well. Let this solution sit undisturbed for about 15 to 20 minutes, allowing the active allicin and citric acid to fully infuse into the water. Once steeped, strain the liquid through a fine mesh strainer into a clean glass jar, discarding the garlic pieces. Add another 300 milliliters of fresh water to dilute the solution to a moderate, gentle concentration. Now retrieve your rose cutting, which has been soaking in the protective aloe vera gel. To suspend this cutting in our liquid solution without letting it sink to the bottom of the jar, which would cut off oxygen and cause the stem to rot, we will use a simple, clean kitchen sponge. Cut a small square of sponge to fit snugly inside the neck of your glass jar. Slice a clean slit down the center of the sponge, and gently slide your rose cutting through the slit, securing it with a soft plant tie just below one of the leaf nodes to keep it from slipping. Pour your prepared garlic lemon solution into the glass jar. Lower the sponge-wrapped cutting into the jar so that the sponge rests snugly in the neck, suspending the base of the stem in the liquid. The bottom 3 to 5 centimeters of the cutting should be submerged in the solution, while the rest of the stem remains dry and exposed to the air. Place a large clear plastic cup with ventilation holes over the top of the jar to create a humid canopy. Place the jar in a warm, bright spot with plenty of indirect light, and prepare to be amazed. During the first 7 to 14 days, keep a close eye on the submerged base of the cutting. If you were to use plain tap water, the stem would likely begin to turn yellow, then black, as anaerobic bacteria took hold. But with this garlic lemon aloe infusion, the water will remain crystal clear, and the stem will stay a vibrant, healthy green. Around the 3rd week, the real magic begins to unfold. You will first notice the formation of tiny white popcorn-like bumps around the bottom cut and along the submerged stem. This is called callus tissue, a cluster of actively dividing, undifferentiated parenchyma cells. This callus tissue is the ultimate sign of success. It is the physical bridge between the old stem and new life. Within just a few days of the callus appearing, delicate, thread-like white roots will begin to push through the tissue, reaching out into the liquid medium. At the exact same time, the dormant buds on the upper nodes will burst open, unfurling soft, delicate light green leaves that reach upward toward the light. Once these beautiful white roots have grown to about 5 centimeters in length and have begun to develop tiny secondary lateral root branches, your new rose plant is ready to transition to its permanent home. This transition is a critical phase, as the roots formed in water are delicate and must adapt to the physical resistance of soil. Gently remove the cutting from the sponge, taking care not to snap the fragile new roots. Prepare a small pot filled with the loose, well-aerated soil mix of humus, coconut coir, sand, and rice hulls that we discussed earlier. Make a deep hole in the center of the soil, gently lower the rooted cutting inside, and backfill the hole carefully. Water the soil lightly with some of your leftover garlic lemon solution to help settle the earth around the roots and minimize transplant shock. Keep the newly potted rose in a warm, shaded area for the first 3 to 5 days, allowing the root system to adapt to its new home before gradually introducing it to direct outdoor sunlight. By utilizing these simple, natural, and scientifically proven organic methods, you can easily turn a simple pruning remnant into a strong, resilient, and breathtakingly beautiful rose plant. If you found these time-tested gardening secrets valuable and are excited to try them in your own garden, please show your support by liking this video, subscribing to our channel for more deep dives into organic gardening, and sharing your propagation results in the comments below. Happy gardening, and may your garden always be in full bloom.